Right, let's get started. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our info session on the Crime Analytics Certificate for Fall 2026. My name is Mushur Chaudhry, and I am the Manager of Sales and Recruitment at the Chang School. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which Toronto Metropolitan University is built upon. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. I thank the Indigenous people of Turtle Island for their efforts to protect the land, and I deeply regret the past injustices they have endured. As Toronto Metropolitan University seeks to move forward in partnership with Indigenous people, I pledge to foster an environment that is more inclusive and welcoming of Indigenous people from all communities. Now, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. Your microphone is muted throughout the event so as not to disturb other attendees or the presenters. For the hearing impaired, we have automated captioning available, which you can access by activating it in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And you can submit your questions for today's speakers at any time by typing them into the question box. We'll collect them throughout the session and address them towards the end. I'd like to introduce our guest speakers for today, Raymond Garrison, Academic Coordinator and Lecturer at the Chang School. Next, we have Ian Williams, Deputy Chief, Toronto Fire Services and Lecturer at the Chang School. And finally, Travis Johnston, Divisional Crime Analyst at Hamilton Police and a graduate of the certificate. We're really excited to have this amazing panel of speakers share their insights, but before that, we will do a quick poll to check the temperature of the room. So here's a poll. We just want to know what motivated you to most consider this certificate, and what is your current level of familiarity with the certificate. Your options are career advancement, career change, skill building for current role, personal interest, and other. And you have high, moderate, and low for your level of familiarity with the field. So we'll leave that on for just a couple of more seconds. Please take a few moments to put your answers in. Your answers are really helpful for us because it allows us to provide feedback to the team and our panelists here. Okay, looks like we've got most of the people participating, and here are the results. So career advancement and career change are the top choices, and then we also have skill building for current role. And most of our attendees have minimal or no prior knowledge, which is totally fine. That's why we're here. That's why we're going to be having this info session. And some of them also have moderate and basic awareness, which is great to know. So thank you again. We're now going to dive into the certificate overview, and I'll invite Academic Coordinator and Lecturer Raymond Garrison and Toronto Deputy Fire Chief Ian Williams to go over this brief overview of the certificate.
Thank you very much, Mashur, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to start off just with this slide, which summarizes the certificate. The delivery is fully online, so you don't have to come to campus for any component of it. There are 6 courses in total, 5 courses are required, and there's a long list of electives among which you can choose. To sort of tailor your certificate toward your particular interests. You can complete the certificate, depending on course availability, within 12 months, but most often it takes people 4 terms, which is 16 months to complete the certificate. Now, when you pay for the certificate, you pay per course. So the only money you put out is at the time of enrollment in each course. So if you're only taking one course in a particular term, you only pay for that course. So the total cost is somewhere between $4,000 and $4,500, depending on which courses you choose to take. Next slide, please. So why learn GIS? Well, geographic information systems, as it says here, have become increasingly important as a planning tool because everything is spatial. We look at where things are, and we want to know what's happening in which particular location relative to other locations and how that changes over time. So GIS allows you to layer data on interactive maps so you get a visual impression of the interrelationships among variables in a specific area. One of the examples I always like to give, because we're all familiar with this, unfortunately, is the COVID-19 pandemic. So you could look at vaccination rates and you could look at location of vaccination clinics. And with that data, which was being tracked continuously. So over time, they kept getting these snapshots to see how things are. And if they find that vaccination rates are low in a particular area, they may open another clinic. They may have extended the hours to 24 hours and so forth. So they can make these immediate adjustments by mapping this spatially across the city of Toronto. Of course, when we're talking crime analytics, Ian can say more about this, but you can look at where cars, for example, are being stolen, where break and enters are happening and such like that. All kinds of data has this data has a spatial component. So you'll have these big data sets and you'll be working with real world data sets, as Ian will say. And this will put it across space. Okay. GIS analysis can feed directly into decision-making processes and the development of policy response options. And that's one of the things that makes TMU's and the Chang School's crime analytics certificate a little bit different because you're oriented toward producing information that can go directly into decision making. So you have a role to play in that decision making. So as I said, you can get a static snapshot or trends over time. Next slide, please. So trends in crime analytics, growing demand for analytics in all industries in general. Community safety and well-being emphasis is there across Canadian municipalities, and Ian will say more about that. Some types of positions that you'll see advertised for crime analysts are crime analysts, intelligence analysts, fraud analysts, and many other roles supporting community safety and well-being. And our graduates do find jobs in both government and private sectors, and sometimes in the third sector as well, the volunteer sector. Next slide, please. So I'm going to pass it over to Ian, who will talk a little bit about what you'll learn with this certificate. Over to you, Ian.
Thanks, Raymond. Just one of the foundational aspects that we share with students in this program is what is the role of a crime analyst? Looking at some of the career path options, some of the traditional law enforcement ones, as well as some of the more contemporary paths, as Raymond mentioned, in different community safety and well-being opportunities. We do see roles in both private and public and not-for-profit sectors. And so we are seeing a growing opportunity list for students who graduate with these skill sets. We are also seeing career opportunities beyond that. So not only your entry level roles, but also your supervisors, managers, directors, etc. beyond that. The program does focus on some really key areas across criminology, sociology, psychology, and geography. And that really brings a breadth of knowledge to the program and to students who are participating in it. It also lets you follow your own path of interest, which is a really great opportunity to look at different opportunities that you might not have known about before. And a key way that we deliver the content is through very much hands-on practical work, using GIS, using data analysis skills, and really allowing students to create portfolios of work that can demonstrate what they're capable of bringing to the workplace. As both Raymond and I mentioned, really we focus on real world data. And these are generally available through law enforcement organizations or public safety organizations who have open data made available publicly. And so we use that real incident-based information to bring into the program. So that way, as you progress through each course, you're more and more aware of different jurisdictions, the types of issues that are facing those jurisdictions, and your analytic skills and your problem-solving skills get to apply to those. So as you take each course, and as you finish the program, you end with a broad awareness of how to find that data, differences in that data, and of course, how to use that data both spatially and analytically. We do a lot of projects. The program is very project driven. And as I mentioned before, you will end up with a portfolio of work, which demonstrates what you're capable of bringing to a workplace. A lot of the skills development we focus on include data management skills. So understanding how to find data, how to clean that data, how to use that data from an analysis perspective. You will also get a lot of opportunities to deliver presentations, both digital presentations, ones which essentially show you how to record yourself and the content you're sharing in a way that can be shared very broadly and repeatedly, even without you necessarily being in the room, as well as live presentations where you're getting that experience, questions and answers, being able to develop further confidence in your public speaking ability, and how to share key information in a concise manner. These are critical in the workplace today, and so we really emphasize how to share the results of your analysis. We also spend a lot of time on ArcGIS, QGIS, and ArcGIS Online applications. These are leading technologies and are used very broadly throughout multiple industries. So these are the core tools that you'll be using from an analysis and geospatial perspective throughout the program. Of course, through all of our courses, you'll have access to the virtual desktop, which is a state-of-the-art digital lab that you'll find very handy and allow you to develop even further skills. Professional application. So we, of course, very much focus on bringing real-world problems to the classroom. And so you will find that in most, if not all, of the assignments that you're working on in your interactions with other students, these are designed in a way to replicate the workplace. The collaboration with other colleagues in your class, with the instructors, as well as every one of the assignments and discussion opportunities brings creative thinking, collaboration, networking, and allows you to actually solve real problems. So I think a key part of what we focus on is really taking a problem that's facing a community today, and we use data to try to solve that problem and look for opportunities to be able to address that, whether that's auto thefts, whether that's assaults or other types of property crime. We bring those data points, we do the analysis, and we make recommendations on what would you do in order to address this, and what recommendations do you have in order to find short, medium, and long-term solutions to these real problems. And so in addition to that, we of course have access to the TMU Career Co-op and Student Success Center, which does help with a lot of future job opportunities. And I think with that, I'll pass it over to Raymond.
Thank you, Ian. So, who should take this certificate? It's as we mentioned earlier, I'm sure mentioned earlier as well, you do not require any previous experience with GIS. The courses take you through a series of modules step by step, and they're cumulative. The learning is cumulative, and I think you'll quite enjoy it. So those looking to upgrade their skills or make a career change, which seems to be what most people attending the session today intend to do. Recent university graduates starting out in the GIS industry, perhaps you have a related degree and you want to add that sort of spatial analysis component to your skill set. Those new to Canada looking to build a career, it doesn't take very long to get the certificate. You have up to 4 years to take the 6 courses, which is 12 terms, and then you're job ready. So as I said, no prior experience with GIS or statistics is required, although you do have to know how to use a computer, find a file, and all kinds of basic computer skills like that. By completing the certificate, you'll apply extensive practical experience in GIS mapping, data analysis, and decision support, as Ian was saying. Understand criminal justice, policing, and criminal behavior, and understand the role of the crime analyst in evidence-based policing and uses and misuses of data analysis. Next slide, please. So this is the basic certificate course structure. Here you can see the 5 required courses. The certificate's designed to be completed around your schedule, part-time, so it's not a full-time certificate. You can complete the certificate is completely done online with a blend of synchronous and asynchronous components. Most of the certificate courses are asynchronous, but there are touch points where you have the option of meeting live with other members of the class or with the instructor and so forth. Most of those are not mandatory, but they're there to facilitate collaboration. And if you're unsure, if you want to do the full certificate, why not try out a couple of courses first? You can do that. You can take CODG 101 and 102, which are our main introductory courses, the 2 introductory courses. Ian teaches 102, for example, and see how it is, and then progress further through the certificate. Next slide, please. So one of the, I think, wonderful elements of this particular certificate are the 2 capstone courses, both of which Ian teaches. One is Spatial Methods in Crime Analysis, and the other is the Crime Analytics Project. So I'll pass it back to Ian to say a little bit about them. These are the last 2 courses that you will take for the certificate program. Ian?
Thanks, Raymond. These 2 classes are really the culmination of the work you do through the certificate, and they essentially represent a Part A and Part B towards bringing a real problem that you've identified, that you want to work on, that you want to showcase as really the big part of your certificate work, and to be able to spend a semester diving into that. And so Spatial Methods 910 is the first part of really bringing direct, focused crime analytics methods. You identify a series of crime analytics problems and you work through the term on those, producing essentially a series of analytical reports. Then you take from that and move towards the large project, which we spend 1 semester working on 1 project. You go back and forth with the instructor, and you identify something that's of interest to you and that is robust enough to do for that entire semester. Lots of students focus on things recently around auto thefts, human trafficking. We see a lot of hate crime related focus of projects, very topical issues that face not only Canadian jurisdictions, but internationally as well. So these are of high interest to employers, and students are very well aware of these as both national and community level issues, and you get to dive into those. You'll produce spatial analytics, you'll do other more temporal or visualization of some of that data. You'll produce recommendations and conduct research in order to understand thoroughly what are the fundamental challenges around this issue and how can I do analysis in order to make an impact and change some of that over time. And students do some fantastic work on that, incredibly creative, and all of it, of course, ends up as part of a portfolio that you can show to employers in the future, whether it's your current employer or whether it's an employer at an organization you're looking to move into. You can bring these because, again, it's real data and you're doing real analysis and demonstrate, here's some of the products that I can bring to your organization or to my next role as you look forward. And so it's incredibly practical and again, broad set of issues and not just policing focused. So we do see some anti-money laundering showing up as well for those interested in maybe more financial institution or fraud-based crime. We also see other challenges where students will focus on persons in crisis. So some of the mental health challenges, again, where you have other community partners outside of policing or law enforcement. There's not necessarily a criminal element, but it pertains to a community safety and well-being problem. And students really dive into these and produce some incredible projects at the end. And so I think exactly like Raymond says, it's a fantastic part of the program.
So I'm just going to touch upon a couple of program highlights that somewhat summarize what Ian and I have been saying. So it offers practical training and theoretical education you need for a successful career as a GIS professional. Includes a series of small hands-on activities and assignments, as well as a major project in the capstone course that Ian just talked about, which all become part of your portfolio. So when you go in for interviews, you'll actually have the output of your work with you, and you can not only say that you can do these things, you can actually show your work. And many students have told me that this they believe has really helped them get the positions that they've been applying for. Our instructors are highly motivated, experienced industry professionals and academic leaders in GIS who will guide you every step of the way. And I'm just going to pass it back to Ian for a moment to talk about the Community Safety and Wellbeing Analytics Leaders Award.
Yes, thanks, Raymond. We're just moving towards a decade of having this award available for students. It's something that is specific to this program. And generally speaking, it's the students with high interest in community safety problems, demonstrated results in their classes. They can apply to this award, and there's a selection committee which identifies at least one student each semester to be able to access some of this award. And so I think a unique aspect to the program, and again, very much directed towards something that can show up on your resume, being able to highlight to potential employers, as well as a bit of a financial support for students in the program as well. So really something that we thought was appropriate for the program and to recognize students in it who are demonstrating the excellence that we want to see in our communities.
So there are other career options once you have completed the certificate. Some people go on to do our second certificate called Applied Digital Geography and GIS. Um, and those skills are transferable to that certificate. And you can work in the areas such as urban land use planning, infrastructure, utility assessment planning, retail location analysis, environmental management, marketing, social services, health services, transportation, and banking and finance. So with the certificate in crime analytics, you can transfer those skills to other sectors if you choose to do so. Next slide, please. So what you end up with is more than just a credential. So you have academic and career advising, personal guidance from program advisors throughout your studies. You can reach out to the advising center. You can reach out to me for to answer any questions that you may have as you progress, or talk about your pathway forward through the certificate. Industry connections, networking events, panels, and community of working professionals. And these often occur within the courses themselves. And of course, you're networking with the instructors as well and fellow students. Flexible online learnings, study around your job. Most people who are taking the certificate are employed, either part-time or full-time, and this certificate really does fit their schedule because it's primarily asynchronous. Full TMU access, as we mentioned before, about the you don't have to buy any software and so forth. You access it through the online desktop server. But you also have access to the library, learning resources, and learner privileges across the university. As far as financial support, the certificate is not eligible for OSAP, but there are awards such as the one Ian was talking about, and bursary options to help fund your study. Next slide, please. So are you ready to take the next steps? Enroll today or connect with one of us for a one-on-one academic and career advising. Visit, enroll, and connect. I'll pass it back to Monsieur now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, both Raymond and Ian, for sharing the overview. I love how you shared about how hands-on we are with data and real-world scenarios, all those different examples and different projects and topics that you can really hone in on. Really exciting stuff. And then, making it convenient for our students by having access to state-of-the-art equipment and desktops. Now it's my pleasure to introduce one of our students of the certificate and a divisional crime analyst at Hamilton Police, Travis Johnston. Welcome, Travis.
Hi, thank you. I'd just like to start by thanking everyone for attending the presentation. My name's Travis Johnston. I completed the Crime Analytics Certificate Program in 2024. So I'm currently a divisional crime analyst with Hamilton Police, and I've been in my role for just about 2 years now. In my role, I review and analyze crime trends in my division. So Hamilton's broken into 3 divisions. So in my role, I communicate with the other 2 divisional analysts to determine if there's any citywide crime trends. I also provide investigative support to various units within the service, including major drugs and gangs and shooting response team. Some of the work I produce involves cell tower data, tracker data on vehicles or phones, creating heat maps such as auto theft locations and recovery locations, attempting to determine any trends in theft locations or cooldown spots, as well as making social network charts. So that helps to illustrate complex organized criminality. Also liaise with outside agencies through the Ontario Crime Analytics Network, and that's just to determine crime trends that occur across the province and the country. Within our service, there's various analysts, including intel analysts, focus on organized crime groups, unit-specific analysts, including homicide, break and enter, and robbery, and as well strategic analysts, so they look at more operations and efficiency within the service. The Crime Analytics Certificate Program benefits. It provides a great hands-on real-world experience. So you're using publicly available data, and the work you complete will be directly transferable into the workforce. Experience in cleaning data, so information is rarely received in a usable format. Cell data is a great example of this. You'll be provided data from different telecom providers, which are all in various formats, and to make it readable, it all has to be formatted into one uniform method. So this program gives key skills required to format data, which is essential to conduct analysis. So I applied originally to Hamilton Police Service in 2023, was unsuccessful in getting the role, and I had several years of analytical experience as a fraud analyst with RBC, but I lacked the technical experience in GIS. So I'm sure as many of you did, researched educational programs focusing on crime analytics, and found and enrolled in this certificate to round out my experience. So the education around the technical software, primarily ArcGIS, was hugely beneficial to me. I applied again to Hamilton Police Service about a year later in 2024 and was successful. And I really feel that the education I gained through the certificate was instrumental in my success. What's been discussed is the tools and techniques I use daily are the ones that I had been trained on in the program. These tools tend to have a very steep learning curve that's been discussed and are not necessarily intuitive, but the methods that they're taught in are very gradual, and really you'll be amazed with from where you start to where you end up. There's also great networking opportunities throughout this program. You're in a program with like-minded individuals. While the program is largely focused on crime analysis, the tools and methods can be widely applied to a variety of analyst roles, as Ian and Raymond have both mentioned. Crime analytics is definitely a growing sector. Always roles being posted online with various police services in Ontario. The services are seeing a huge benefit that data-led policing and the importance of analytics continue to add to the expand in their positions within the services. And with the new year coming up, you can expect to see some new roles being posted for net new positions within services. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Travis, for sharing your story and your journey. Stories like you are the reason we do what we do. And thank you to all of our speakers. That ends the presentation portion of today's session. We'll now open the floor to everyone for Q&A. Please enter your questions by typing them into the question box of the control panel, and we will start getting to them. So looks like we've got a lot of questions that have come in already. I'll start with the first one is can you give examples of how this problem can be used to study financial crimes like money laundering? So I know Ian mentioned that money laundering and fraud investigation are topics that are going to be discussed. So if you can expand on that a little bit.
I certainly can. And Travis, feel free to jump in, having worked in that space as well. From the program perspective, the data analysis that we do is applicable to any type of crime, essentially. So a large part of money laundering entails patterns in data. So understanding frequency or repeat patterns. And so that's a core foundation that we spend time on in the program. We do that largely from a spatial perspective, so how those patterns would show up on a map, essentially, and then interpreting what the results are. Money laundering can have spatial patterns, but money laundering can also be non-spatial. But the data analysis methods are fairly consistent. And a large part of that is interpreting the results of analysis and then explaining the results of analysis to someone who's going to address that. So an enforcement branch or enforcement aspect around the money laundering activity. So things like that, I think, are directly relevant. But Travis, any more thoughts on your side?
Yeah, I think it's all just pattern recognition. Where's the money coming and where's it going? It's being able to use the analytical methods that you're going to learn in this program to really apply those and determine the patterns and trends there.
And Travis, while I have you, Sam D has a question for you. Is what was your academic background before you enrolled in this program?
Yeah, so I completed criminal justice studies with Guelph, and then I was at TMU. I did my master's in immigration and settlement studies. That was my education background.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, next question is also from Sam. Thank you for your question again. It's about group projects. If there are any group projects, or are they more individual projects during the coursework?
The projects are mostly what I would call individual. However, we really encourage collaboration throughout all of the classes and the entire certificate. So you should look at essentially your cohort of colleagues as colleagues. And so bouncing ideas off one another, sharing some of the results of the work, helping with interpretation, getting feedback through some of the presentation works that you do. And that starts from pretty much the first class to the end of the capstone. And so, not dedicated group projects, but collaborative efforts, I would describe those as.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you for that answer, Ian. Okay, next question is, what background do successful students typically have? Is it suitable for someone without criminology or statistics degree? And I know we mentioned during the presentation that, you can come from any background. There's no really a lot of requirements. And one of the things that I've learned by hosting this info session for some time is whatever background you're coming from, there's a lot of transferable skills that you're bringing in, which is always a big advantage when you come in, no matter what background it is. But anything else to expand on that, Raymond or Ian?
Yes, I would say that you don't need a background in criminology per se. People do come from a wide variety of disciplines, even with backgrounds in engineering and science and so forth like that. And they're able to go through the certificate and be successful at the other end in securing employment. So it is actually wide open. And as we've all said, the skills that you gain through the crime analytics certificate are transferable to other realms where GIS is being applied, and it is being applied across all sectors. Anything to add,
Just
Ian?
No, I think it's a multidisciplinary program. So all backgrounds welcome, and everyone, irrespective of what your specific educational or work experience is, you'll be able to find opportunities to bring something unique to this type of study as well as this field of employment. So I think it's all good, literally.
So just to dovetail off that, someone from a psychological research and statistical analysis background rather than law enforcement, for someone like that, what specific skills or portfolio projects would make that candidate stand out to hiring managers? So, getting more career outcomes.
Well, I think some of the really unique aspects of psychological research would be like some of the crime prevention or some of the repeat pattern behavior. There's some real interesting criminology theories, and the combination of criminology and spatial analysis combined is really an interesting space and very relevant. So I would probably say that would be relevant and interesting to a candidate working to stand out to hiring managers, and all of the um, spatial analysis aspects of the work. So there's a minimum of 4 courses that you'll do spatial analysis on. All of the projects in those courses will be suitable for your portfolio. You'll be able to take the results, add them into a portfolio, which can be quite interactive by the end of the program.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Um, Okay, so the next question is from Chrissy. Um, and the question is, what's the starting salary for a crime analyst? How about in 5 to 10 years? Does the entry pay tend to change based on previous analytics experience in different industries, maybe marketing, or are they too different to warrant any argument for higher than entry level? So I know we can't fully go into, starting salaries for crime analysts. It's always a range depending on where you are, geographically or based on your experience and background. But I know we do have a divisional crime analyst on the call here, so maybe you can shed a little bit of light into what an entry level looks like without maybe divulging details about salaries, but what that experience is like, and in 5 years, can you move ahead and get a higher position or higher salaries?
Yeah. So for entry level, I think from what I've seen, it's typically going to range in about high 60s at the low end to high 90s at the high end for starting. And then within 5 to 10 years, I know the bigger services, Peel, Toronto, they have their high range is around 130, 140, and that's just crime analyst role. Then there's management positions with that you can move on to. There's always room for advancement. There's all the way up to directors, and there's plenty of streams for advancement in the field.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks. And thank you for your question, Chrissy. Okay, next question is, another one about career outcomes from Matthew. Thank you for your question. Are there enough jobs in this industry to warrant pursuing it? So I know we've alluded to that before as well, but yeah, go ahead. And whoever wants to take that, maybe Raymond, you can start.
Sure. Yes, there are a lot of jobs. Um, Even if you just do a search in Indeed, searching GIS, you'll see there are many jobs in many different sectors, and it's only a growing field, honestly, because for decades people have been working with large data sets, but not always spatially, and that's important to know the patterns, know where things are relative to other things and so forth, any correlations and so forth spatially, so that you can address issues with policy responses in a more targeted fashion in a particular areas, right? And that is in all sectors. So I mentioned Ian mentioned the not-for-profit, and I said volunteering. What I was thinking when I said volunteering was the Daily Bread Food Bank, for example. They look at food bank use, food bank location, food bank hours, and things like that, right? Using GIS. So it's an invaluable tool across all sectors. Ian, anything to add?
Yeah, I think it is quite broad and certainly growing. Just the analysis component as well is so applicable and highly sought after. And as Travis mentioned as well, not only entry level roles but also career progression. So there's some straight lines like this step to this step to this step, but there's also a lot of horizontal opportunities. And so I think it's a fascinating space with increasing opportunities there and innovative technology. So no shortage of things that are sought after.
Travis, anything from you?
Yeah, I think there's always significant opportunities. If those are interested, I would suggest on LinkedIn you can follow OCAN. That's OCAN. That's Ontario Crime Analytics Network. They're always posting positions across the province that are available, and oftentimes you'll see that they hire in batches. So Peel recently had they'll post 6 jobs at a time. It's not just the one role that they're offering. It's huge expansion in this field.
That's a great call out, Travis. Thank you so much. And I just shared the name on chat for everyone, so look it up. And yeah, if you have any questions later on, feel free to reach out to us. So we have a question about the average age of students in the program. I know from talking to students that our students range anywhere from like people that are just out of high school to people that are taking undergrad to people that are a little bit further along in their career. So I don't think there is a specific average age of students of the program, but if you can tell us a little bit about what type of backgrounds or students you see, maybe that's something that can be helpful for the students. Raymond?
Well, people do come to this certificate and the Applied Digital Geography and GIS certificate. Uh, they're of all ages. Some of them have been working for 20, 25 years. Some of them are just out of school. So it is not really possible to get an average age. It's open to everyone and people who want to pivot in their career or just increase their skill set to something that is very relevant to the job market. And again, people come from all different backgrounds. A lot of people are working. Most people are working in some capacity when they take the certificate.
Yep, and we have a term that we use in CE all the time. It's called lifelong learning, and that's something that we really believe in because
Yes.
learning never stops. Okay, next question is from Sam D again. Someone with an honors degree in criminology along with this certificate is enough to get analytical employment, or would further studies such as a master's degree be better?
I can speak to that a little
Yeah.
bit. I think that's a great combination, and certainly brings a lot of the skill sets and knowledge base to be a very competitive candidate. I Hard to say would a master's degree be better. I mean, obviously more education, and as we're all here as continuous learners, I think we would probably suggest that more is always something we should seek. But I don't think a master's degree is necessary for some of these entry level roles. Um, it certainly could help augment some of your skills over time. And certainly, if you have time and interest in pursuing a master's degree, can be related. But I don't think it's an absolute requirement by any means. I see many students with exactly that combination of criminology and the certificate or other undergraduate level education and the certificate, and they do extraordinarily well. So I think I think that's a reasonable combination, but shouldn't preclude further things. Maybe an individual discussion for you and academic advisors down the road.
Yeah, definitely. But please reach out to us if there's a one-on-one conversation that you'd like with any of our advisors or myself. Okay, I know we're almost at time, so we'll get to this one last question, and maybe everybody can touch on it a little bit. It is a hot topic these days. It's about artificial intelligence, and the question is, how does the program address the ethical and legal considerations around using predictive analytics or AI in policing, given ongoing public debate about bias in these tools? So maybe Ian and Raymond, you can talk a little bit about how the program addresses it, and maybe Travis, you can share a little bit about, how at your job it's being addressed as well.
Certainly. I think you'd find in a number of the courses, there's dedicated content to that topic. Discussion forums, there's modules that are very much focused on this. It is relevant and something that being an analyst in this space requires that you have awareness of some of these challenges. You're going to be working with data increasingly, you're going to be working with AI-based tools. And so understanding what the implications are, both from an ethical perspective as well from making recommendations. Because if you don't understand some of the data itself and the fundamental issues that might be existing in that data, it's going to be difficult to make informed and accurate recommendations. And so lots of relevant content there. And it is a central theme to a few of the classes.
I would just add that AI considerations are being incorporated into all of our courses over time. The university is very much itself engaged in trying to understand the most appropriate ways in which to apply AI in various sectors and various modes and so forth. So it is something that is evolving within the certificate and within the courses within the certificate.
I think from within our services stance, it's also evolving. I'm currently on a team helping to develop our AI policy, which is we're always like kind of an ever evolving document. So yeah, I think it's here within the industry, and I think that just the needs to be some framework for understanding how to ethically use it.
Love that. Thank you to all of you for answering that and all of the other questions that we've gotten. We have one last poll while I do my closing remarks, but I know we're at time. If you could just let us know how we did. And with that, I just want to thank our panel today for such an inspiring conversation, and thank you to all that have attended for taking the time out of your day during lunch hour to attend our session and ask all these amazing questions. If you're interested in learning more about the Crime Analytics Certificate, please visit our website at continuing.torontomu.ca. And if you have any other questions, you can contact me directly at mash.chaudhry@torontomu.ca. All of the information that we shared and a recording of the session will be sent to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. And on behalf of the Chang School and all of our speakers today, thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of the day. Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.